Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack an absolutely intense, incredibly immersive wilderness experience. We're looking at the ultimate blueprint for a visceral, hands-on battle against the elements, set deep within literally one of the most unforgiving environments on the entire planet. Just imagine it with me for a second. You've got this heavy, humid air, the constant buzzing of insects all around you, and just sheer, absolute isolation in the wild. Today, we're going to break down the exact process of taking this totally hostile, muddy terrain and step by step, transforming it into a fortified sanctuary.
Now listen to this quote right here. A cinematic time-lapse of a solo survivalist building a sophisticated underground bunker and a wooden cabin in a dense, swampy mangrove forest. Wow. It immediately sets up this gritty, high-stakes reality right from the jump, doesn't it? We're definitely not just talking about, pitching a basic tent over the weekend. We're looking at a solo survivalist completely decked out in camouflage military gear, taking on the wild totally alone. It's really just this incredible testament to human endurance and, frankly, architectural ingenuity when faced with raw, untamed nature.
So, moving into Section 1, Mangrove Survival, the battle against nature.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the visual and sensory experience is framed. We're looking at this incredibly deep forest atmosphere, captured with a really raw documentary-style perspective. And the ultra-realistic 8K resolution, the super high contrast, the natural lighting, well, they aren't just fancy technical terms, right? They're literally what brings this harsh world to life for us. They make sure that every single hyper-detailed texture, I'm talking every leaf, every shadow, every single drop of moisture, pulls you directly into the actual grid of the swamp. It's so realistic you can almost feel the humidity settling right onto your skin.
All right, on to Section 2, Excavating the Foundation, Digging the Muddy Pit.
Here is where the real work begins. The survivalist isn't just digging plain dirt. They are fighting a literal mountain of swamp obstacles. They're battling the constantly shifting muddy ground, hacking their way through these insanely thick, tangled tree roots, all while dealing with being right next to a flowing stream that constantly, and I mean constantly, threatens to just flood the entire workspace. We're talking about relentless mud splashes everywhere, sweat just pouring down the character's face, and immense physical exertion. It is a dark, it's wet, and it's an incredibly demanding first step just to get a foothold in this forest.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds out, constructing the framework and building the cabin.
So the actual construction happens in 4 critical sequential actions. First up, constructing the wooden frame using raw logs harvested directly from the surrounding swamp, nothing brought in from the outside. Second, building a raised floor. And this is absolutely crucial, you guys, to stay dry and above that muddy stream-adjacent ground we just talked about. Third, the addition of a thatched roof, which is then carefully covered with a black, waterproof tarp to keep that relentless rain out. And finally, applying a thick, heavy layer of mud over the whole structure for insulation. It is an absolute masterclass in taking the very environment that's fighting you and using it to ultimately protect you.
Which brings us to Section 4, the luxury sanctuary, a cozy transition.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the massive contrast of this entire endeavor. Look at where we started. The origin was literally a dirt hole, completely defined by mud splashes, tangled roots, and just raw, harsh elements. And then, look at the breathtaking result. A luxury wooden cabin. It's night and day. We're talking about an interior completely lined with polished dark wood panels, a really cozy bed replacing the cold, damp earth, and even a small iron stove with a crackling fire. The visual and emotional payoff here is just immense. It's the hostile exterior being completely, 100% shut out by this warm sanctuary interior.
To finish off the interior, we get to see these really beautiful final touches. You have wooden shelves neatly stocked with the camouflage-clad characters' survival gear. There's this incredibly warm, glowing oil lantern hanging from the ceiling, casting flickering light across the highly realistic wood grain. And all of this is depicted in completely smooth 60 frames per second motion, with this professional color grading that really emphasizes those rich, earthy tones. It's just a perfectly organized, warm, and secure haven built right in the absolute middle of a chaotic swamp.
So, the crucial point we are really left with here is a huge question of endurance and personal capability. We've traced this whole intense journey from a muddy, root-choked pit to a glowing, fully insulated luxury cabin. It's basically the ultimate triumph of human willpower over a completely chaotic environment. But, considering all the massive physical exertion, the meticulous planning, and just the sheer grit required to survive all of this, it leaves us with one final thought. If you were dropped into that dense, unforgiving mangrove forest tomorrow, could you build a sanctuary in the swamp?